In the 1950s, General Mills released a new Betty Crocker instant cake mix that seemed guaranteed to print money. All a consumer had to do was add water, mix it, and bake. But the product stalled on the shelves. Women were ignoring it because the process was actually too easy. Market researchers found that homemakers felt guilty using the mix. It saved so much time they felt they were deceiving their families. So General Mills made the product less convenient. They removed the powdered eggs from the recipe, requiring the consumer to crack and add a fresh egg themselves. That single requirement forced the consumer to invest manual labor into the baking process. Doing a little more work restored their sense of ownership, and sales of the cake mix soared. Psychologists later named this the IKEA Effect. It is a cognitive bias where humans place a disproportionately high value on things they partially create themselves. Much like struggling to assemble a flat-pack dresser makes us value that dresser more than a pre-built one. We are wired to love the fruits of our own labor. But in the modern workplace, this innocent psychological quirk costs companies millions of dollars in wasted engineering time. Nowhere is this trap more expensive than in software development. Developers spend hours wrestling with strict logic and complex syntax, building a deep emotional attachment to the code they write. This attachment scales up to entire teams, resulting in what is known as not invented here syndrome. Teams will routinely reject perfectly good, commercially available tools, insisting instead on building inferior, custom versions entirely in-house. In the tech industry, this is often explained using the toothbrush theory. Software solutions are a lot like toothbrushes. Everybody needs one, everybody wants one, but nobody wants to use someone else's. As a result, companies bleed engineering hours. Highly paid teams spend months reinventing generic utilities, like login systems or file uploaders, instead of paying a few dollars for a proven external tool. Recently, AI coding assistants have thrown gasoline on this problem. When a developer can prompt an AI to generate a custom internal tool in a single afternoon, the decision to build instead of buy feels incredibly trivial. This chart compares the true lifecycle costs of a custom software tool. The initial AI-assisted build is just a tiny sliver of the actual expense. The bulk of the area represents the years of security patching, dependency updates, and bug fixes that inevitably follow. AI solves the easy part of the equation. Because prototyping is now so fast, teams rapidly accumulate a massive portfolio of custom side projects. Over time, maintaining those projects becomes a permanent tax on the engineering department's resources. The team stays incredibly busy maintaining the tools they built to do their jobs, while the actual product stalls. By the way, if you have ever found yourself fiercely defending a messy block of code just because you wrote it, hit the subscribe button. Defeating this bias requires a strict rule: buy for parity and build for competitive advantage. This matrix categorizes engineering features based on whether they drive value and whether customers actually notice them. Up here in the top right is your special sauce. These are the unique algorithms and core features that actively win market share and generate revenue. This is where you deploy your top engineering talent. Down here in the bottom left are the table stakes. These are non-differentiating features, like credit card processing or internal dashboards. They must work perfectly, but don't win new customers. Always buy these off the shelf. Redirecting brilliant minds away from already solved problems and toward your core product is one of the highest leverage moves a company can make. On an individual level, the IKEA effect shows up every day during code reviews. When a developer spends days wrestling with a complex function, they start to view that project as their baby. Any critique feels like a personal attack. Reviewers have to navigate this by directing their feedback strictly at the code itself. They must completely detach the author's identity from the logic on the screen. Instead of saying, "You are writing cryptic code," which instantly triggers a defensive reaction, a reviewer can use an I statement. Saying, "It is hard for me to grasp what is going on here," frames the issue as a subjective reading difficulty, rather than an accusation. For the developer on the receiving end, the defense against the IKEA effect is radical humility. You have to actively remind yourself that your self-worth is not tied to the initial draft of your pull request. True professional maturity is recognizing the limits of our own psychological biases. It is knowing exactly when a project requires your deep personal investment, when to crack the egg yourself, and when it makes more sense to just buy the cake. Thanks for watching.